You one day in a little toy shop, buy a bag of balloons with the money we got, set them free at the break of dawn, till one by one they were gone. Back at base, bugs in the software flash the message, something's out there, floating in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. It's red alert, there's something here from somewhere else. The war machine springs to life, opens up one eager eye, focusing it on the sky where 99 red balloons go by. 99 Decision Street, where 99 ministers meet to worry, super scurry, call the troops out in a hurry. This is what we've waited for, this is it boys, this is war. The president is on the line as 99 red balloons go by. Nights of the year, right? Super high-tech jet fighters. Everyone's a superhero. Everyone's a Captain Kirk, with orders to identify, to clarify and classify. Scramble in the summer sky as 99 red balloons go by. As 99 red balloons go by. 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty in this dust that was a city. If I could find a souvenir just to prove the world was here, and here is a red balloon, I cry for peace and let it go.
If there be but 100 of us remain alive, never shall we, under any condition, be brought under anybody's idea of a new world order. It is, in truth, not for honor, nor for glory, nor for riches that we are fighting, but for freedom, for that one thing alone which no honest person would give up, save with life itself. Once we were warrior poets. For now, we must stand for peace. Courage is the cure, said Richard. I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure whatever courage we can muster is going to be a cure for anything. I sure as hell know. Voting isn't going to fucking change anything. It's nothing more than an adult version of writing a letter to Santa Claus at this point. The world is now truly fucking insane. I wish I had a Venn diagram to show just how fucked up we are. And we've crossed that event horizon between conspiracy theory and geopolitics. So now it's almost, I don't know, irrelevant to have a break, but we'll do it because it's tradition. let's just start then with the chaos and craziness, which is this here disunited motherfucking kingdom. Now, I'm always a little bit wary of numerology, but sometimes some things slap you in the face so fucking hard they cannot be ignored. Like the fact that Andy Sachs Coburg, because that's his Mountbatten is a rough English translation of Sachs Coburg, just for anyone that doesn't know this shit. And the royal family changed its name to Mountbatten from Sachs Coburg shortly after World War II because it sounded too fucking German. And Mountbatten didn't quite cut the ice either, and so they tacked on Windsor, because what's more fucking English than Windsor, I guess. So, Andrew Sachs Coburn was arrested exactly 666 days from when a pure white horse covered in blood ran through central London, and he was arrested on his 66th birthday by 6 unmarked police cars. And now, all that might add up to a pile of fucking nothing, but it's fact. And it gets crazier. Andrew was the late Lizard's favourite. She shielded him. There was always the animosity between Charles and Andrew because of that fact. Charles felt shoved to the side. But that's all right, because at the side in the wings was his de facto grandfather, father figure, because he didn't get on with the late Lizard of Edinburgh, his father. So in the wings was no one else but Louis Sachs Coburg or Mountbatten, who was one of the most notorious paedophiles. Yes, Jonathan, it's true. Who was one of the most notorious paedophiles known throughout the British military. He preyed on young members of the Navy, including on HMS Glasgow. He was taken out by MI5 and blamed that bombing on the IRA, which helped kick off the modern troubles in the 70s. The same Charles Sachs Coburg, who probably allowed a Rothschild to have prima nocta with Diana. Hey, it's all crazy enough now to be fucking true. The same Charles who had a decades long close friendship with the world's probably most notorious paedophile. At this point, it's a toss-up. It's a cigarette paper's distance between Savile and Epstein as to who was the most evil, who was the most predatory, and who was the best at fucking trafficking kids to this Epstein class. But Charles had a decades-long close relationship with this man. And who was it? Let me fucking think, who shielded Savile from prosecution when everybody knew he was at it? Not just paedophilia, but necrophilia. They all knew. Who shielded him? Well, that's right. The head of the Crime Prosecution Service, given a knighthood for doing so, a certain Keir fucking Starmer Kid Harmer, who is up to his eyebrows in trouble because of Mandelson. Now, Mandelson, on the face of it, has done far worse crimes than Andrew is accused of. And in fact, I'm going to have a little discussion with Alex in just 1 second. But it's no coincidence that Kid Harmer, pensioner starver, appeared on BBC Breakfast the very morning that Andrew was arrested to say that he ought to face Congress and he had things to answer. None of this would have happened if Starmer and Charles Saxe-Coburg had not agreed upon it together. Capiche? It's a throwing of Andrew under the bus to try and take away from the problems of the paedophile protecting Prime Minister and possibly one of the worst lizards in the fucking world wearing a golden crown in Buckingham fucking Palace. Capiche? Now, Alex, we had an interesting conversation that I want you to tell folks about, where you pointed out something that Andrew, the first royal to have been arrested in over 400 years, well, they had to get him out of where he was living. Can you explain to folks why? Because you did the research on this.
Yeah, the whole moving from one mansion to another mansion never made any sense. It never makes any sense on the surface of things, except back when I was looking into sovereign immunity. You cannot be arrested, and nobody can be arrested in what is classed as a royal residence, because it comes under the sovereign immunity of the sovereign of the realm. Therefore, for him to be arrested, and especially to be arrested from home, he needed not to be in what is classed as a royal residence. It can be owned by the royal family, but it cannot be classed as an official royal residence.
Ah, there was a reason why I did choose the last time I tried to enact the Declaration of Arbroath Holyrood Palace. Just saying. But yes, so for Andrew to have been arrested, they had to evict him. Otherwise, he couldn't be. That's what you're telling us, Alex, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, is anyone buying that that's coincidence? Glenn, I mean, what's your thoughts on this, brother?
Yeah, sorry, there's just a bit of chaos going on.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, let's face it. I mean, Andrew committed what you would no doubt call the breaking of the 11th commandment, and that is, "Thou shalt not get caught." And that's basically what happened to him. He was exposed. He became visible, and ever since that time, the royals have done everything they can to distance themselves from him. Put the smell as far away from themselves as they possibly can, because that smell, that taint, will rub off and possibly expose them as well. We all know, for instance, Charles and the late Lizard. They were both in this mysterious Red Eye Club. They were all up to something, and they need a sacrificial lamb. And William's it. Edward is it. Sorry, I always get William
Andrew.
and Edward. Yeah, always Andrew. I just hate the royals, so any name will do. Just insert name here. That's all. Edward, he was kind of the spare to start with. So, who can blame the king for distancing himself from him and try to keep the smell as far away? And there is something very strange in all the numerology thing. He was 66, like you said. 6 policemen turned up. 666 days from what event did you say, Ian?
From the white horse that he
The
saved.
white
I think
horse.
it was the trooping of the killer.
Yeah, with all the blood.
With all the blood, yeah.
Yeah. Another very sort of...
And the symbology of that.
Yeah.
Behold a pale horse.
Yeah. Most bizarre, and it's almost a portent or a way of sort of putting that out there. And then there was the curious incident with the curled flag, wasn't there? Prior to that. Yeah. Again, some kind of message to those who know. Very, very dark and mysterious people, the royals.
And immediately after the rolled flag and the empty booted gun that you're talking about, Charles Saxe-Coburg unveiled the royal portrait.
Yeah.
That one that looks like Baphomet if you mirror it. Funny. And, isn't it funny that in Tehran they burnt a statue of Baal, who was an ancient Mesopotamian god who demanded child sacrifice, and Israel and Zionist Christians throughout the world said they're declaring war on us. By their own words. Now, let's move to the basket case. And there's so much else going on, by the way. There's so many other things happening. It would be impossible to cover them all. That's why people now have to get their big boy and girl pants on and do their own fucking research. All I'm doing is hitting a few of the highlights here, and I'm missing out so much. But let's move to the other basket case, which is the United States of America, where Donald Oompa Loompa fucking Trump, Eureka Death, has so divided the America First, his base, that they're fractured between people who have woken up thinking, oh my fucking God, we have been supporting a fucking pedophile, to those who are willing to say the most insane things to try and justify Trump being a fucking pedophile. Where the Supreme Court finally gets the balls to say, but they had to figure it out, you see, that Trump's tariffs are illegal because he used the Emergency Powers Act. Well, Trump has a little fucking meltdown, starts talking about, I'm allowed to destroy countries, I can embargo fucking people, I can do it, but I can't charge them at just a little fee, just a little fee. Vegan, anyone? And then someone, probably Jared Kushner, tells him, here's what we do, boss, it's all right. You do tariffs, you just do it under the Trade Act of 1973. So, Trump then imposes a blanket 10% tariff on the entire fucking world after having done all the trade deals, all of which now are out the fucking window. And overnight, he does a little bit of fucking math in his big fucking head and thinks, fuck that, I'll increase it to 15%. So the whole world doesn't know what's fucking going on. But there are people who maybe do. Like Les Wexner, named as co-conspirator to Jeffrey Epstein, who the Congress didn't make him appear before them. No, they went to his luxury fucking home and deposed him. But he was starting to say too much. So his very, 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 very invested lawyer, it's nice to see people in the legal profession having this level of care for their clients, is caught on hot mic saying to him, if you answer the next question with any more than 5 words, I'm going to fucking kill you. And I don't think that was legal advice. I think that was a motherfucking threat. In the meantime, is it Ludnick? For some reason, is now Donald Trump's shadow. Howard Ludnick. And just so people understand who we're talking about, he's the guy that bought the trade towers and insured them up the fucking kabuki, and was one of the 700 Jews who suddenly decided they weren't going to work on the 11th of September 2001. And collected, even though his entire company was destroyed, 700 of his employees fucking wiped out, collected mega money. Oh, and his company was also the one refurbishing that part of the Pentagon that got hit by a cruise missile. I refuse to say that was hit by an airplane. Coinky dinkly. Now, here's another coinky dinky. Trump. Now, we know Trump likes to go off page, but Trump, in one of his White House fucking press briefings, turns to Licknick and says, oh, you were very lucky on 9/11, weren't you? Oh, what was it? Your wife called and said you had to take the kids to school? And Lubchek, who has done nothing but stand there smirking and fucking laughing through all the Epstein pish, suddenly had a little look across his face. You see, Lugneck is Trump's handler, but Trump just went to him. Maybe I can reveal shit about you too.
Mhm.
And isn't it interesting? Isn't it coinky fucking dinky interesting that Lugneck's sons and daughters, who are controlling his company because he's secretary for whatever the fuck he is, all invested in betting that while Lubnik was out saying the Supreme Court's of course going to back Trump's tariffs, of course they are. But sons and daughters were quietly betting on the stock market that the Supreme Court would say they're illegal and bought the rights for the repayment methods at 25 cents to the dollar. So he's going to make another killing. But it's all right, folks, because the grift doesn't fucking ever stop. Trump's piece of shit board had its first meeting. Now, the Vatican and all the same countries, China, Russia, blah, 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 have said, fuck you, we're not going. Doesn't stop the big fucking Oompa Loompa, who's still charging $1 billion a pop to have a seat on a board for which he is chairman for life. He sets the rules, no one else. That's the way it is. We're going to be the new fucking United Nations. Fuck you cunts. Oh, and by the way, American people, I'm just taking and all the money collected for the Board of Peace, all of it, Trump controls. Funnily enough, and the American people are now on the hook for another 10 billion that Trump just awarded himself via the Board of Peace from the American Treasury. I'll pause. Alex, Glenn, do you want to say anything at this point? Glenn?
Yeah, Lutnick actually tried to claim twice on the Twin Towers because he said, well, there were two planes and that makes two claims. That was rejected, by the way, I think. Yeah. But that shows you the caring, sharing kind of guy he was, and is. Yeah. Is it any wonder that every American president, every British prime minister leaves office vastly more wealthy than they ever came to office as? And that ain't through their salary, is it? Where is all that money coming from? Well, whoever decides that they need to buy the president this week or this year or whatever.
Sorry, Glenn.
Yeah.
I had one of those mad moments when you said wherever it's coming from, and I thought of that old song about the Smurfs. Where are you all coming from? Wandsworth Neck, where we belong.
Yeah, the Smurfs. I never trusted the Smurfs. They always seem a bit sinister. They're up to something. And then you've got, now that Clinton's, he's beginning to lose it, I think. And he made a Freudian slip the other day, didn't he? When talking about 9/11, well, he was talking about the Pentagon. And he didn't say plane. He said, when that bomb went off at the Pentagon. So that was either a Freudian slip or he's lost his marbles. Yeah.
No, at this point, honestly, let's just face it. At this point, every cunt, and I mean every cunt, who has called me a conspiracy theorist for the last decade needs to write me a letter of fucking apology. Fuck Alex Jones. Fuck David Icke. Fuck whoever else. I was there first. Simple. Alex, anything to say at this point before I move on to the big enchilada of the moment?
It's insane. It just all connects back to the same people all the time. It just you never have like one thing. You don't have, oh well, he insured it up to the hill. You have, he insured it up to the hill. He didn't go there. None of the people that were important to him went there, and he claimed on it. There's never one thing. There's always 5 or 6 little tick boxes for every bit of red string.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to ignore the coincidences. We're supposed to ignore all of this stuff. And then you get to your supposedly leader of the free world, as they like to proclaim. Well, we'll just stick 10% tariffs on everybody. Oh no, we'll make it 15. And it's like it's being like policy is being made up on the fly, on the cuff.
It's and not like it. That is what's happening.
It is policy being made up. Yes, it's true. I'm being too generous with suggesting it's like, but it's like they don't need to care anymore because time is too short to be relevant. What happens tomorrow?
That'd have been Glenn. What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying. Long ago I started to believe that Trump. Do you remember those little games when you were a kid, where you had like a little sealed thing, and it had holes, and you rolled the ball around the little course and tried to get it into the end hole?
Yep. Yep.
That's how I believe Trump's brain works. He kind of moves his head around, and the ball drops into one of the holes. 10% tariffs. No, I moved my head. 15% tariffs. Now we're going to bomb you. No, you're our best friends. But we're going to capture your president. Now we're going to send a hospital ship to Greenland. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? I mean, he's not consistent. Mercurial should be a word exclusively reserved for Trump, I think. So.
Well, I love the video of when he announced sending a hospital ship to Greenland, catting to all the people in the American cities, homeless and drowned and fucking. I mean, those guys could maybe do with a hospital ship. I don't know. I'm not a medical fucking man. I do know this. I think Trump is a lot smarter than most people give him credit for. Uncle John. Maybe. He's business smart. He might not read, but he's street smart, like Epstein. You read Epstein's emails, the guy had no fucking great schooling. He wasn't erudite like I am. But he had street smarts. He could make people do what he wanted, and Trump's a bit like that. And before I go on, because I'll forget if I don't fucking say it now, they're all grifters. I've told you this. We've got Stephen Yaxley fucking Lennon getting sent £20, the last £20 from single fucking parents, whilst he's fucking dodging around Washington in £850 training shoes, designer clothes, and living at the best fucking hotels. So now we come to World War III. And the strikes haven't happened yet. And that's a positive. After the tariff thing, it went up. the possibility of the strikes. And everyone's trying to read the tea leaves. The military experts are looking at the military deployments. Geopolitical experts are looking at the toings and froings. The Wall Street Journal and fucking other publications keep studying the waters. Alternatively, Trump's going to fucking strike in fucking minutes, or Iran says that they've reached an agreement. The US has agreed to uranium enrichment. All of it is kabuki theater. The only issue at hand is not if these strikes are going to happen, but when and how. Because Trump likes, and here I'm going to scare myself, and yes, I do get scared. Trump likes an in and out. He doesn't like long wars. And yet everybody's telling him Khomeini just came out and appointed his next 4 fucking successors. And the 4 successors for everyone that he has the right to appoint. He just fucking went, decapitate if you like. There's 4 others waiting in line. And they've issued a standing order. The way Iran has set up is it's given autonomous command to all its military regional provinces. So if command and control goes down, if there's no communication from Tehran, the standing order is just fucking do it. Just fight. You're in command. Keep the missiles flying. Sink those fucking ships. Do whatever. We have Russia defying the US's blockade on Cuba by sending oil. Free gratis, by the way. We have China putting up gigantic solar farms in Cuba to help the people have electricity and improve their grid situation. Why do I mention that? Because it all ties in. There are, at my last count, 109 stratospheric air fuelers in the region. There are 250, give or take, fighter jets in the region. In Ukraine, we now know that the F-18s given by the various countries are being flown by Dutch and American pilots, serviced by Americans. They're not allowed to get into combat because they'd be shot out of the fucking air. What they're doing is they're shooting down drones over Kiev and Sumy. And not Sumy, what's it? Anyway, you know what, Lvov. You know what I'm saying. The 250 plus fighters are not there to engage in some massive air battle. They're there to try and shoot down missiles and drones because everyone now knows that the air defenses don't fucking work. Patriot doesn't fucking work. THAAD doesn't fucking work. Iron Dome doesn't fucking work. They're too easily saturated. Okay, Glenn, ex-Air Force, how do those numbers, what strike you? 109 Stratocaster refuelers. And I'm not even talking about the the control aircraft, the growlers, the everything else is there. But 109 refuelers, 250 fighters. I mean, are they just there for a fucking picnic?
Exactly. That's not an exercise, is it? That's. I mean, even a tiny fraction of that is more aircraft than we can field in our entire air force. Even a tiny fraction of that. But ours are there. Everyone's contributed to this, or all the sort of coalition puppy dogs that normally do. Excuse me. But that's a vast amount of fuel that's circling around. So they're obviously planning on keeping a very large number of aircraft flying for constant patrols, constantly on the lookout. And that's how we've seen these aircraft being used in the past. During the 12-day war, the type of aircraft were used to try and shoot down these missiles and drones that were being sent in wave after wave after wave. So and the Iron Dome crumbled then, and I doubt it's any better now. And the great failing of the Iron Dome is it will fail if you keep it under constant bombardment. They just don't have the missiles to keep, nobody's got the missiles to keep this up. Eventually, it fails. And the hypersonics don't take any notice of it anyway. They just get through. So you don't put that many refuelers in the sky for fuck all.
Alex, maybe you can take down Shannon's comment. I was trying there, but something's fucking about with my... There you go, thank you. But I'll answer it, because I ought to when I was talking about Prince Andrew. Here's the difference between Andrew and Mandelson, legally, okay? One, Andy has not been charged with sexual offences, child molestation, torture, kidnapping, fucking people smuggling, any of those things. None of those things. No. He was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Well, wait a minute. As a royal, the argument can be made that's public office. They relate to when he was a trade ambassador for the United Kingdom. His defense in court may well be, yes, he shared these things with Jeffrey Epstein because he was trade ambassador and Epstein was in position to enhance Britain's trade globally. Oh, that's hardly misconduct then, is it? Whereas in Mandelson, and therefore he gets off. Oh yeah, he has to go fucking live in a hole somewhere. But he gets off. Regrets. Whereas Mandelson, he was doing a thing called insider trading, and that's all provable. Now that is misconduct. And Moorhouse, yes, it does mean, there's two things it does mean. It means that having been arrested for misconduct, they won't debate him in Parliament, and he won't have to appear before Congress. Oh, yes, that keeps falling into place. Now, Trump likes a short, sharp, in-out thank you, I'll lie my fucking cant off about what we did. It was a big, beautiful bombing raid. We destroyed their fucking nuclear shit. Eviscerated it. Oh, well, that's, I guess, why they've dropped the trying to go with Iran's going to make a nuclear bomb. Because if you've eviscerated the fucking What? So then they go with ballistic missile. But wait a minute. You're saying that a country that hasn't actually fired any fucking ballistic missiles at any country, unless they were directly attacked, needs to give up all its ballistic missiles, needs to make itself utterly defenseless. No fucking state in history would agree to that shit.
Impossible.
And people know that. And so now we have the bombardment of propaganda. The Iranian government, I'm no lover of Islam, the mullahs, or regimes anywhere, but I will tell you this, the Iranian regime is more actually truly democratic than the fucking United Kingdom or the United States of America. Whether you like them or not. So, Trump has been given two options. Two. A sustained air campaign that will last weeks, possibly months, like the Kosovo air campaign. Or serious consideration. I'm not there. I'm not in the Situation Room. I'm not in Joint SAC. I am just picking up the whispers. Or as a demonstration of might and power and capability. It's been seriously discussed dropping one or two tactical nukes, not on Tehran or any city, but on Fordo and maybe one of the known missile underground bases. You want to talk about Ukraine? Ukraine's fucked. Orban vetoed the 90 billion, which means Ukraine isn't. And see, 90 billion, 30. It's like the old fucking gangster movies, you know. One for me, one for you, two for me. You got me? 90 billion. Meant to be 60 for the military industrial base to buy weapons, 30 to keep paying the wages. Here's how it actually goes. 30 to pay some wages, keep those bribes going. 30 to feed into the military industrial complex, of which will get kicked back, and 30 to spread around in the old money mixer. Because now a major in the Ukrainian military, Azov, obviously, is able to buy £100 million fucking house in Ibiza or wherever the fuck it was. I can't remember. Meanwhile, Britain is using its missiles to strike 1,000 miles into Russia to try and hit the factory where Russia's missiles are being made. And they're claiming it was a flamingo, when every cunt and his mother knows flamingo missiles are a boondoggle. How did Russia respond? The biggest fucking strike Ukraine's ever seen. The lights ain't coming back on now. And Russia's preparing big arrows. Okay. I agree with Scott Ritter, who says that right now China should just turn around and say, you know what, US, fuck it, we're taking Taiwan. What the fuck do you think you can do about it? Because America can't fight a two-front war. I don't think Xi is going to do that. But Alex Glenn, before we transition, I want your thoughts. Trump. Elongated campaign, hoping for decapitation, hoping for civil insurrection, could take weeks, could take months. But we've now got all the military assets on standby, ready to go. Or let's dump a couple of tactical nukes on them and see if that brings them to capitulation. Steve Witkoff was just interviewed and said Trump's confused given all the military assets we have in the region. He can't understand why Iran's not already capitulated. So, Alex, Trump, long bombing campaign or a couple of tactical nukes and the Pandora's fucking box that will open? Which do you think he'll go for?
It's like I can't tell Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday because he isn't predictable. He doesn't want anything lengthy. He wants, and if he gets the opportunity for a quick in, quick out, then he would be inclined towards that. And I don't think he's got, as long as he doesn't think it's gonna hit him back, I don't think he would hesitate to use a tactical nuke. But he's also sent an armada into the area, which most of those numbers, and funny enough, I looked up those numbers yesterday because I was doing a talk on Iran, and most of those numbers have arrived this week. The majority of that armada has arrived since Tuesday. And why send all that if you're not going to use it? And the refuelers especially, that's not a show of strength, that's logistical backup. Why would you send that and not use it? I can't tell. I can't tell which way he would go, but the only thing that was interesting is the whole, he doesn't know why they've not run to the table, they've not capitulated. Well, Iran's response to his aircraft carriers was to tell them how easily the ballistics would sink them to the bottom of the sea. And one of the Iranian aides even put out a nice little AI video for Trump with it sitting on the bottom of the sea.
One of the things of the many, many things I love about you, Alex, is you do listen and you do learn. Because what you just said is what I tried to teach people. Amateurs talk about tactics. Glenn, professionals do logistics.
Exactly.
So, and before I ask you, let me just throw this in for your consideration and for you to give me your opinion on. The State of the Union address is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Is the Oompa Loompa going to stand there on Tuesday and say, I am the greatest president of all time. I'm bringing billions into the economy. They backstabbed me at the Supreme Court, but hey, my tariffs live on, baby. And I deserve that Nobel Peace Prize. Look at the 185 fucking wars I've stopped so far. Only for the next day for him to order a full-on attack on Iran. Or is he going to stand there Tuesday and say, we're the greatest nation that has ever graced the face of the planet, and I'm the greatest president, and I never hesitate from doing the hard thing, which is why we brought Iran to its knees with just 2 little tiny tactical nukes.
Yeah. Well, one thing's for certain. You don't spend all of this time and effort front loading all of this weaponry, putting into place all of this equipment, all of these planes need backup systems. There's ground crews. And every time one of them comes back, it's broke. It needs fixing because that's the nature of military jets. There's a vast amount of infrastructure going on, a vast amount of logistics going on that you just don't see on the surface. Now, what the Americans have shown, if the past is anything to be any kind of guide, what they have gone for in any conflict that they've initiated is shock and awe, what they call shock and awe. An enormous bombing campaign designed to pulverize any enemy into giving up, basically, into saying, "Oh, wait, whoa." And what they've always done is do that, and then sometimes a little pause, and then back at it again. I think whether or not Trump decides to go for the limited nuclear strike capability, or whether he wants to go for shock and awe on steroids, a massive, like no one's ever seen before, campaign that he believes will knock down the Iranian regime quickly. That is the option I believe that he will go for. Either a massive aerial bombing campaign, or even both. You know, what's more frightening than putting a couple of nukes there and then having a pause and saying, "Now, do you really want to keep playing this game?" It's difficult to say which way, and I can't make a commitment. I cannot say I believe this or the other. But if American military thinking is anything to go by from the past, they will initiate as big a strike as quickly as they can possibly do it. I don't know where Israel would factor into that, because Israel are fucking lunatics. They would nuke Iran. They would nuke Iran tomorrow if they thought they could get away with it. But when Trump stands at that podium to talk about, well, like he always talks about how fucking brilliant he is, how he's the best president ever, how America's never doing so well. Will it spoil that pitch if he's up to his neck in a war when he's always declares, like you said, "I've ended this war, I've ended that war, and I deserve the Nobel Peace Prize"? Again, I can't give you a decision on that because A, I don't know what he's going to decide, and B, I don't understand how his brain works. I don't understand his decision making and those around him. So I think that, for my mind, the possibility is that they will try an overwhelming air campaign, because they ain't going to risk anything else until they know there's no danger from Iran. They never send ground troops in. They're going to want to bomb that place flat.
It's crazy the way the American political cycle goes, but we're barely into the first year of Trump's presidency, and everyone's talking about the midterms.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes. Now, the midterms aren't to November, so we've time, but Trump's ratings and his popularity, and he just can't understand it, is going through the floor.
Yeah.
And I'll show that again. Sorry. This one. They would use war to stay in office and not hold election. Oh. whilst Trump still very narrowly holds the House and Senate, it might be a very good move to have them declare war, authorize war, and then, well, bada bing, the War Powers Act kicks in. ICE, who have built all these concentration camps, detention centres. And they're here in the UK, folks, I'm just saying. Well, they can round up the dissidents. The Trumpians can all be fucking armed to the hilt to shoot anyone that doesn't like it. It's just all. We are, well, I don't know what will happen on Tuesday. I don't. I do know, and I'm going to say this confidently, I do know that there will be strikes against Iran.
I think so.
And I do know this is not going to be limited, and I worry that it's going to go nuke. Because, and here's a couple of things. Do you know Gen Zers don't get the Mandela effect? Why? Because they're post the differences. Gen Z don't understand the danger of nuclear war. Millennials barely understand the danger of nuclear war. All the old cold warriors like Dee and me, Glenn, are no longer in the command structure saying, what the fuck are you idiots doing? They now have maniacs who actually fucking believe they can win a nuclear exchange.
Yeah.
And this is not a dig, brother. Honestly, don't take it as such. But I loved your show Friday, and I love the debate that we can have on this page, because we can be adults. We can talk about things. We can disagree with each other and still be the best of friends and partners and everything else.
Exactly.
But I don't see any way that we're raising our vibration out of this shit. I'm just saying. I'm willing to try. I'm willing to try. You know, I'm the pessimist. You know, you're the optimist. Alex is the realist. I'll raise my vibration any fucking which way I can.
Well, thanks for that.
I think it's time to transition. Naz, I think you need to go and watch the ice hockey fucking game and watch us on replay. Apart from that, let's transition. And we'll see what these guys have been up to this week. See him wasted in the saddle. He comes riding through your town. He's wearing yesterday's misfortunes like a smile. Once he had a future full of money, love, and dreams, but he spent like it was going out of style. But he just keeps on believing that for better or for worse, he's searching for a shrine he's never found. Never knowing if believing is a lesson or a curse, or if going up is worth coming down. He's a poet and a picker. He's a prophet and a pusher. He's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth and partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. He has tasted good and evil in the bedrooms and the bars. He's traded in tomorrows for today. He's running from his demons and he's reaching for the stars, leaving everything he's loved along the way. And the world just keeps on turning, so for better or for worse, all he ever gets is older and around. From the rocking of his cradle to the rolling of the hearse, going up's not worth coming down. But he's a poet and a picker, he's a prophet and a pusher. He's a pilgrim and a preacher, and a problem when he's stoned. He's this walking contradiction, partly truth, he's partly fiction. He's taken every wrong direction on a lonely road back home. Welcome, pilgrims. Nas never apologize. We know you are, at least you fucking ought to be, people at this point, utterly exhausted trying to navigate this world gone truly insane. The internet is a morass of misinformation, disinformation, AI manipulation, and just downright fakes. Shyster, Schuster, snake oil salesman, Stephen Yoxley Lennons, et al., and then the grifters like George Galloway, who's living a very nice life in Moscow at the moment, but demanding that you pay him $1. He says you have to donate to him because apparently his very generous MP's retirement fund, which is for life, isn't enough. His income from Patreon isn't enough. His income, champagne socialism, they're all over the fucking place, and I'm sick to death of them. When we struggle just to get by, but don't ever and will never charge you a penny. So come on in. By accident or design, you find us this afternoon. Take a seat by my fire. Pour yourself the first adult beverage you can get your fucking hands on, because it's going to be rough. Roll yourself something warm and brown and golden to get you through this day, because this afternoon the lone gunman rides again. Richard asked the question in the chat: how can America fight World War III and the Civil War? Well, I refer you, Richard, to World War I. At the start of World War I, the Habsburg Empire, yes, same as the Mountbatten, fucking them cunts. The Habsburg Empire actually controlled most of Europe, and the Tsar was on the throne of Russia. But we never hear that World War I was between Britain, France, and the Habsburg Empire and Imperial Russia. No, 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 it was all just Germany. Why? Simple. Because the Habsburg Empire and the Tsarist Russian Empire fell apart due to civil war in the middle of World War One. Bada bing. Glenn, does that answer that question?
I mean, certainly the Russians fell apart through their revolution, through the Bolshevik Revolution, and pretty much after that, that was it for them. They weren't. They were no longer interested in fighting this war. And yet again, the Americans came late to the party, riding over the hill in the last year, and claimed that they won the war, as they usually do. But yeah, I think it's a pretty fair assessment. Yeah,
80% of Bolsheviks were Jews.
Mm.
I'm not. I'm just throwing out a fact, people. I am not. I'm not. You know, I'm just throwing out a fact, Alex.
Yeah.
Does it make sense that America can be used to kickstart World War III and yet fall apart through civil war? And before you answer, I'll throw a little theological grenade into the mix. And that theological grenade is this. And I am an expert. I actually can't say I am a fucking. I'm acknowledged as a world expert on the Book of Revelation. In end times prophecy, according to the Bible, I can show you, and I literally can show you, Russia, China, the Middle East, European states, and how they all interact. Do you know who is conspicuously missing from the Revelation? And that is the good old US of A. As someone said, how could Israel be trampled upon for 36 months and used by the nations if the USA existed? Answer, it couldn't. So by the time we get to the events of the Revelation, let's say big old battle called Armageddon, which is a place, Medigo, then this US empire has got to be no more. It's literally, what do they say? Cast in the fucking mix. The USA was born to fail. The USA was born to disintegrate, but be the cause of World War III, in my humble opinion. Because I kind of said a week or a couple of weeks ago, I ain't pulling punches anymore. Now, this week I decided that, and partly because I've got the chaos, isn't Granny Shed looking bare, people? I've got the chaos of having an enforced move of house. We don't know where we're going. I've got a van that I'm hiring tomorrow morning to take north to storage my tools, my garden. I love that. Granny shed, the hot tub, it's all going tomorrow. Which would mean that I only need a transit van when and if we find some place to move to for our bits and bobs of furniture. The world can change like that. That doesn't actually, I don't even know why I start talking about that except to say, understand where we're at. I gave these guys an open hand this week. Go look up anything you like. Bring us the research. As part of a conversation we had, Alex decided to revisit something that she did in the past. And I'm going to get Alex to go first with this. Glenn might bring us anything, and I'm going to enjoy this because my jobbio, if I have one, is to somehow link it all together and tie up in a great big motherfucking bow at the end, if I can. Glenn, now, without revealing anything, what do you think, brother? Do you think I'll be able to? No.
Perhaps not, because what I've done is in 3 sort of little parts. But I think you've a good chance with the last 2. I think you've a very good chance with the last 2. So I will not put anything beyond you, my friend. And I think you will be able to do that. So, yeah. Okay. But let's see what Alex is bringing.
Yep, Alex, over to you. Tell people what you're looking at and what you find, please, mate. You're muted.
My mouse is dying. Sorry about that. Yeah. First off, I've only seen Glenn's from his slides, but yeah, I think you can link the 2 of them. And there is a possibility to the 3rd one to do with the politics of one of the slides or the author of one of the slides without getting into anything, but we'll see. But for me, I've been following one of our tropes and one of the things we say a lot, which is the whole follow the Nazi. And I've been looking into, are there connections and more mainly familial connections to Nazis, to fascists in general, to that ideology. I can't get the words out. With that
ideology.
Yeah, with those ideological beliefs, because I can't seem to say the other version of it, to the modern day politicians and the modern day leaders of the world. Now, just a disclaimer before the fact checkers of the world start knocking on the door. Just because somebody has a picture in this slideshow does not mean I've necessarily found a connection. It means I've looked, but it doesn't necessarily mean I've found one. Because that's kind of...
You mean Alex, just like Whoopi Goldberg and America's version of Loose Women, all of which appeared in the Epstein files, who came out in public and said, just because we partied with Epstein doesn't mean we did anything wrong. That's your disclaimer. Or that's my disclaimer for you. They can blame me.
Yeah, I was aware that was sounding awfully like most people's justification for appearing in the Epstein files. But there is another side of it, and that's the thing. It has been an interesting journey. And I haven't found many proven links. In fact, the majority of the links that I have found is where some journalist or somebody has already exposed the connection. But that in and of itself is kind of perhaps more surprising than reassuring, because what is clear, where the links have been found, there have been even when they've been found and it's clear, there's been very deliberate attempts at obfuscation. Now, apparently whilst throwing Nazi salutes, whilst supporting the Azov battalion, giving standing ovations to Nazis in parliaments, and hiding Nazi symbolism literally everywhere.
Mm.
Whilst all that exists, and that all seems to be perfectly fine, it seems being directly connected through your family tree to literal Nazis seems to still be a bit of a step too far. But as I say, it's been an interesting journey, so I'm going to show you some of the things I have found. So let's start right up to date. Let's start with Sir Keir Starmer. Now, Keir Rodney Starmer was born on the 2nd of September 1962 even, in Southwark, London. His father was Rodney and his mother was Josephine Baker. The toolmaker father owned that tool company, as you probably know by now, a company called Oxted Tools. He wasn't a lonely worker of, he owned the company. And his paternal grandparents were Herbert Starmer and Doris Edith Parsons. Now, Herbert was a Tory gamekeeper who lived in a castle and was the chairman of the Godstone Conservative Association. Now, it wasn't this building as often the building at the top in the bigger picture as is often put out, but it was effectively a two-story folly, which is the artist impression down on the right. But nevertheless, it's not exactly the humble beginnings that he likes to suggest and likes to paint. Now, his great-grandparents were Gustavus Adolphus and Catherine. Now, Gustavus served in the First World War, was on the British side, and as a driver for the Army Service Corps. Well, his peaceful job was again as a gamekeeper, peacetime job, sorry. Keir's maternal grandparents were Marjorie Jones, Ronald Frank Baker, and Ronald worked as a driver, and his great-grandparents were Frank Baker and Maud Louisa. Now, Frank Baker worked as a mental health nurse in an asylum, and indeed Keir Starmer's mother herself was also a nurse. Now, this, interestingly, is kind of the start of a bit of a pattern, because while I can't connect the majority of the former British prime ministers to a direct Nazi connection, there does seem to be repeated connections and repeated patterns. There are an awful lot that connect to the medical world or connect to the pharmaceutical industry. And there are other connections. And here is one of them, because Keir Starmer and his wife belonged to the liberal Jewish synagogue in London, connected to a synagogue which is basically attended by and connected to the Rothschilds. Now, I'm not going to go in length into his time as the head of the CPS, his failures to prosecute.
Alex, I love the way you do that. Okay, Britain, the world. Starmer's a fucking Jew who attends a synagogue that the Rothschilds fucking attend. But don't worry about that shit. There's more to come.
Yeah.
It's true.
If that's throwaway, oh my fucking God.
I do have a sarcastic way of doing some things, I must admit. But because, like when I say I will not go into his time at the CPS, his failure to prosecute Savile, the pressure put on Sweden connected to the Assange case, failure to prosecute serial rapists such as John Warboys, police officers later found guilty, and MI5 and MI6 agents for participation in torture on detainees at Guantanamo Bay and in Afghanistan. No. The other parts of this history I've not gone into much further, but let's just say it is already an interesting look at the moral caliber of our politicians. But like I said, I went next to the previous 5 prime ministers. Now, Rishi Sunak, again, has no obvious familial ties or familial Nazi connections. He was born in 1980 in Southampton to parents of Southeast African descent. Now, his mother was born in Tanganyika, which was a former British territory in what is present-day Tanzania even, where her father was employed by the colonial administration. So where Starmer's parents and grandparents and great-grandparents do not have those political leanings, you kind of do see that in Sunak's history, but usually working for the colonial powers. Now, they later moved to the UK, and his mother was a pharmacist, and his doctor was a GP. We're back to the medical links again. His father, I think that's a doctor, his father was a GP. His father, Yashvir, was born in Nairobi, Kenya, to Ramdas and Suhag Rani Sunak. And this is where it gets interesting. It has been suggested in mainstream media, and it's not been successfully denied, that despite being on the colonial government's payroll, he was actually responsible for training the Mau Mau militants in guerrilla techniques. Now, Rishi himself, prior to politics, worked for Goldman Sachs, another pattern history in the financial sector, and started his own hedge fund. And obviously, his wife is an heiress in her own right. So, why don't I have any more pictures? Maybe I don't. I seem to have lost some of my slides, but never mind. So, Liz Truss, just to go quickly through the others. Liz Truss, again, no obvious familial ties to Nazi officers. But if you look a bit closely at the audience at her last book launch, you'll certainly find people with modern day Nazi persuasions. Boris Johnson, again, no, but there's a very interesting mixed ancestry with Boris Johnson, including to France, to Germany, to Turkey, and to potentially a line of descent, the wrong side of the blanket, as they used to say, from George II. And then if you start looking, obviously, at the books that his dad, Stanley Johnson, wrote, then you'll see certainly a lot of interesting ones about population control and effectively eugenics. Theresa May, no, Theresa May is quite interesting because where you have Keir Starmer, Sir Keir Starmer, with quite a posh education and everything as well, trying to push the whole toolmaker thing. The whole Theresa May's history does actually date back and to grandparents, I think, on both sides that were in domestic service. So for once, she actually is from that downstairs world.
Alex, I know you don't have slides, so I'll interject here for the audience with a mental picture, because I've seen the photo, and the photo is extant. You can find it. Theresa May with Merkel, Angela Merkel, with von der Crazy, the 3 of them all together as young girls, best of pals. What's the fucking coinky dinky on that, people? A bit like Starmer going to the same synagogue as the Rothschilds, I guess. I don't know. Alex, continue.
And this is where I say there's no obviously findable links. It doesn't mean there aren't none. Which brings us back to the last one I've looked at, which is David Cameron. Again, no obvious links to a Nazi heritage. And when I say this, there's no obvious links to Mussolini, to Franco, to those Liz Black shirts either. Not that you can find, not that you can trace. It doesn't mean they're not there, but it would take a lot longer digging than what I've managed to do at the moment. In fact, Cameron goes back to a German Jewish ancestry. Again, we're back to that sort of connection. And ironically, also another one that can claim descent through the wrong side. I don't know what George II was up to, but the wrong side of the blanket from George II. And this is the interesting part, because that link is also, true. But that link was also to the House of Hanover and to the ancestors and antecedents of the royals. Because this is where we do start seeing some more connectable, more obvious links. And you have Edward VIII. And yes, this whole line is he abdicated because of Wallace Simpson. Not saying that he didn't, but there was also very known and very supported connections between his beliefs and his opinions and the Nazi or upcoming Nazi world and government, and towards the end of the Weimar Republic and towards the beginning of the Second World War.
Documents reveal, Alex, again, sorry, I'll interject just for a second. Documents reveal that if Operation Sea Lion, which was the Nazi invasion of Britain, had gone ahead in the early days of 1940 as planned, Edward there would have been reinstalled as the King of England. That's documented, folks. Just throwing it in there. That was Hitler's plan. Go on, Alex.
Yep. And a part of that, in a way, connects into this next guy, which is, forget the exact name, I've not written down in my notes, but it's Charles Edward Saxe-Coburg, who wasn't a UK royal as such, but as usual, was a cousin of and was a regular visitor to the UK, even coming close to and on the eve almost of the Second World War. And then, of course, you've got pictures that surface every now and again in videos of the former Queen Elizabeth II. Just, I'm sure, saying, hi, somebody over there. I'm sure it has nothing to do with throwing Nazi salutes.
The guy in the background, by the way, is the aforementioned King fucking Eddie. Okay? Yeah. Just so people know.
Yeah. So that is the British royal family. Again, as Ian said earlier, Saxe-Coburg changed to Windsor because it sounded too German. And of course, the descendants comes down through the House of Hanover, which were German anyway, admittedly way before the Nazis. But obviously, those links do not disappear overnight. Now, then, of course, going beyond the royal family, the one proven, and you think an obscure politician, a minor politician being connected with links to a Nazi grandfather, you'd think, well, yeah, that might be okay. There's no proof, there's no suggestion they follow that ideology. You'd think when it comes to the chief of MI6 and I've said this one before, we've talked about this one before, you'd think that would kind of be a bit of a stumbling block, but no, because the one proven Nazi ancestor is Blaise Metrali and her grandfather Konstantin Dabrowski, who was a Red Army collaborator in Ukraine. So there we have the one technical proof within the UK. And like I say, you'd think the intelligence service would be the one place that would be a stumbling block, but apparently not. And that's when we start getting to Europe. And that's when things start getting, again, full-scale obfuscation, because you have some of the ones that are known. Oh, this was her grandfather's service record to just back that one up. This is Alice Swedor, and she's AFD in Germany, and there's proven connections to her grandfather and being serving Nazi officer at the time. Mertz, you can pretty much prove. They deny it. They claim it's misinformation, disinformation, but there's a pretty strong trail of evidence. And this is when we come to the whole fact checkers, because there's another 4. You've got another 4 that I've got one fact checking article that questions all of them. And the 4 were Schultz, Christian Lindner, Karl Lauterbach, and Donald Tusk. Now, first 3, as far as I can tell, are all German politicians. Donald Tusk, obviously, is Poland. But there's one article, and it's a fact-checking article. We know what fact-checkers are. If it's a duck, it looks like a duck. It walks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. It's probably a squirrel. But I find this article interesting. And it's because fact-checking...
Sorry, Alex, I keep interrupting you this afternoon. It's not like me. But I have to interject. At this point in history, people, anything which is fact-checked is likely to be the fucking truth.
Yeah.
If they don't fact-check it, then that's when you go, we'll stick that to one side. Got me? Okay. Continue.
It is true, but there are also 2 distinct types of fact checks I've noticed over the years. And there's the one with the "how we got you here" attitude. And what that usually means, and I was going to bring some slides if I never got them, is they've got something that somebody has shared. And why they've been shared, how they've been shared, is a different question. The Jew images from Maui that clearly weren't. The images from different, I can't remember the other sample I had in my head, but even to the disappearing needles and things, there was never any sense of that. It was about making us look foolish. But if they can get us sharing something that isn't true, or one part of it that isn't true, they can use it to discredit all of it. And this is why I get worked up when people share things, and people don't understand why it annoys me, because they're saying, well, yeah, but the whole of it is, the whole attitude of it, the whole inference of it is correct. So what if that picture isn't a Jew in Maui? There was something wrong with that. Yeah. But by sharing the one thing that cannot be true, you've given them the ammunition to discredit it. And people can't understand why that one winds me up, but it does for that reason. But there's 2 things, and you get the first one, they seem to have this attitude. They seem to have this attitude with the Schultz one, because they've got the evidence, this specific part of it can't be true. But then they get to the other ones, and then they get the grasping at straws. And it usually is, well, that picture's not correct, or the there's no actual proof that he said that, even though he suggested it. He went to the meeting and whatever. He used a different wording. And that's what they then do on the Christian Linda. And you get comments about there's no evidence that his grandfather did this. His grandparents on one side was such and such, and not a mention of the grandparents on the other side. But everything they do is obfuscation. So these things have been supposedly debunked. And yet the fact that they debunk them without evidence and that grasping at straws makes me question all of them. And the fact we then get to Tusk and they try to say again, when that's a pretty much known one, that his grandfather was connected. And their argument is, oh no, he was on the other side. He was fighting on the other side. How can you say this? And it's done like shock horror. How dare you say this when he was fighting on the other side? But the problem is that, yeah, he was. And then at one point, he disappears and suddenly reappears, having switched sides. And I mean, that's been a whole thing historically in wars going back to the Middle Ages, going back to the Civil War. You'd capture a soldier on one side and you give them the opportunity. They can either stay in jail or they can fight for your side. So yes, it's happened for a long time, but there is distinct evidence to suggest that he went on to fight on the side of the Nazis. But no, it's all disinformation because everything has to be discredited. And then, of course, we've got Kaja Kallis, and if we ever need a demonstration of a modern day Nazi, she does it pretty well. And again, you have a grandfather that you can connect in to that organization. And again, it's all supposedly disinformation. It's Russian misinformation. But if we don't know from now the one thing about Russia, if they put something out, they have every receipt they need. They don't just say something unless they can prove it. And when I thought of this one, I thought this does actually put an interesting twist on her attitude that, what do you mean? And a skepticism of the idea that Russia and China were responsible or had any part in the defeat of the Nazis. I'm asking now, was she skeptical of them having a part in it, or was she skeptical whether the Nazis were actually defeated? And then, of course, there have been, again, massive claims on van der Leyen. But again, this is supposedly been debunked. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. But there just seemed to be a big pattern of a generation being gathered together, reappearing at the top. And yes, we could also have looked into the WEF, to the global young leaders. The only one, incidentally, on the British Prime Ministers that I can find in the alumni of that is Cameron. But there's a lot more when you start looking at Europe. Like I say, the links, weirdly, despite everything they will openly show, maybe because it's individual people, but they are guarded and they are hidden and they are disguised and denied. But like you said, if a fact checker is saying, no, it isn't real, then you probably ought to be taking it almost as being so.
Thank you, Alex. I give you a short time to do research, but I will guarantee for anyone that wants to. You start scratching at Keir Starmer or Nigel Farage or Boris fucking Johnson et al. And the upper echelons of the British deep state, the civil service that never changes. you will find that a little known episode in this country's history occurred in 1937, where a man called Mosley, Jewish, obviously, became very, very close to achieving becoming the British Prime Minister. Now, predictive programming's always there, isn't it? So if you were to go to a great show like Peaky fucking Blinders, you will find embedded there the truth and the lie, because in Peaky Blinders it's that good old boy Winston fucking Churchill, which scorches Mosley's plans, or did he? Was there as right now? You see, the First World War was fought because they thought that Britain would be the first communist revolution. Had to get rid of the British fighting men, the yeomen, the Highlanders. Had to get rid of those cunts. Second World War might have been because the Mosley fascist takeover wasn't going to work here, but was working very nicely in where else but Germany. Oh yeah, I you know, unfortunately, I'm kind of thinking I can start putting some more red strings on the wall, but we'll find out after the professor, who is the man in black, Glenn Bruce, has his say. Go on, Glenn. Over to you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm quite possibly going to move as far away from, or maybe not as far away from Nazis as you can get, but there might be some connections. But so everyone's heard of magic mushrooms, haven't they? Everyone's heard about magic mushrooms and basically their effects on the brain, which can vary from person to person. And each time they're consumed, it can be different. But there's a Chinese mushroom out there that was only given a scientific name in 2015. And here they are at slide 1. If we've got that. There they are. This is Lanmauer asiatica. It's an edible mushroom, actually, from China. Well, it is edible. I say edible, but if it's not cooked properly, if it's not prepared properly, then it has a very strange and unique property. It basically makes you see little people. Slide 2, please, Alex, just to illustrate that. Okay, so there's some little people busily, mining a tube of Pringles or something. But the fact is,
where are you all coming from? Where we belong.
Maybe. But the fact is that this mushroom makes you see little people and nothing else. That there are no other effects. You just see little people. Now, this mushroom has long been known about in China, and doctors in the Yunnan province, where they mostly grow in China, treat hundreds of people every year who are having visions of tiny people after, having eaten these mushrooms. Now, these hallucinations, you might say, start around 12 to 24 hours after you eat these mushrooms. So, they take quite a fair amount of time to become active. And but the effects, this seeing little people, can last up to 3 days. It's most bizarre. Now, these mushrooms are also common in Papua New Guinea, in the area called
I want some.
Well, that's fine if you've got a holiday. You could take 3 days off and just hang out with little people. I think they are available on the internet. Not that I've looked. So when Westerners first started to go to Papua New Guinea in around the sort of 1930s, they described a phenomenon. They described a phenomenon called mushroom madness. And specifically, it was reported that those affected would experience Lilliputian hallucinations, which is actually a rare clinically defined psychiatric syndrome. Slide 3, please, Alex. So there's the Lilliputians, named after the tiny people in Gulliver's Travels. Now, by the 1960s, scientists were kind of working to identify the species of mushroom involved and what chemicals.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Glenn. Looks like when the boss brushes my hair to play it, and I scream from all the tangles. Just saying.
Yeah, with all that hair being nailed down. Yeah. So they tried to find out what chemicals were in these mushrooms. What might be responsible for giving you these these visions of little people running around all over. However, both these kind of questions really haven't been answered. This guy here at slide 4. This is Dr. Colin Donovar, and he works for the Natural History Museum of Utah, and he's been conducting a long study, and he was the first actually to identify the family of fungi that they belong to, this Landmauer class. I missed that one. But what chemical causes these very specific hallucinations is still unknown. We know it's not psilocybin, which is the active ingredient in the family of various mushrooms that we call magic mushrooms. But precisely what it is and why it causes this effect are still a complete mystery. 96% of people affected by these mushrooms report seeing an abundance of little people or elf-like figures. And these figures are often seen dancing and running around and jumping and even marching in formation across the table, swimming in your soup, and they are interacting with the real world environment that you're in. They're not part of some great hallucinatory landscape. It's just little people in the real world, which basically remains unchanged. So that's when I first heard about this, I thought, wow, how come it's absolutely so specific? Why is it just little people? Or these little elf-like characters? And I haven't been able to find out. And it very much looks as if we still don't know why. So I just lumped that into when Ian said just go and look at anything you want. I thought I'll just find some weird stuff. Okay. So that's pretty weird. That is pretty damn weird. And obviously we're none the wiser, really. Okay. So now on a completely and unconnected theme.
Do you want me to weigh in there, Glenn?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to comment on this, it would
okay,
be
because it's if I'm going to tie it all up in a big red bow, I think at this point I need to be throwing out some red string for Alex to start popping pins in the wall for.
I mean, I must admit it's a random one, this.
It's well, yeah, but except, of course, that the word assassin comes from Old Middle East Hasmatic language, which actually means killer after imbibing hashish, assassin. And rumor is Muhammad gathered around him a big old group of fighting men, mercenaries, took them to a cave in Medina, where they were given copious amounts of hashish, strongest you could find, and served up with copious amounts of any luxury food you could think of, and of course the obligatory fucking whores. Hundreds of them, all very versed. And I'm probably going to get a fucking jihad on me for this, is where was born the idea of if you are martyred for Islam, because he then took those assassins and set them loose on his political opponents. Oh, got me? Okay. So, if you die in the service of Allah, you're going to go to a place where you're going to be out of your face with the 90 fucking virgins and living in luxury. Glenn, does that make sense to you?
It does actually. I mean, that's if you're gonna make something like that, you might as well make it big. I'm not going to want to die for I don't know 2 camels and a scraggy looking old woman. That's your reward.
And my warrior background is berserker.
Yeah.
And how do you create a berserker?
Give them loads of drugs.
You get them drugged up and drunk to fuck so that they will take wounds that would stop any mortal man and keep on
naked, yeah.
Oh, and can we then very quickly fast forward to modern days when people on LSD from the 70s, the 80s, I don't know, could do superhuman acts under great stress if they were on certain drugs. MJ Ultra, Majestic 12, Skunk Works, and always our favorite MK Ultra, doing experiments on people, giving them hallucinogenics.
Yeah.
Now, it's hardly a conspiracy theory anymore to suggest that the bastards are fucking spraying us daily in what we've come to know as geoengineering chemtrails. The US government provably has admitted to having experimented on US populations with biological and chemical weaponry. I mean, I'm a, maybe I'm just a guy with a big imagination.
No.
But what if they took some of that shit that makes you see little people, found a way just to tweak that slightly so you saw little green people, for example? I don't know. I'm just fucking throwing it out there.
Yeah.
At the very time when we're told Trump is so panicked by fucking Epstein, he has pulled the grenade of the alien guard. So if you're going to have Project Bluebeam, I'm Stanley fucking Kubrick. I am the greatest fucking director ever. Spielberg, I don't care who you think. I'm going to pull this shit off. You know what I want? I want drone shows. I want Bluebeam.
Yeah.
I want real craft and real fucking explosions, and I want the population like a fucking movie to have already been chemically fucking sprayed to see fucking little people. There, make a bigger ball of red string. On you go, Glenn.
Okay. Right. Well, you mentioned something there. Because now I'm going to move on to Epstein. And I'm going to talk about anomalies surrounding Epstein's supposed suicide. Now, these are things that don't seem to add up. Now, firstly, that there's obviously the official explanation that Epstein hung himself either using a ripped up bed sheet or the ripped up orange overalls that they were issued in the prison. And they say it was most likely
paper towels. Paper towels.
Well, paper towels. Well, that was most likely by using the top bunk of his bed and propelling himself up and strangling himself. Now, this explanation seems to fall down when you start to look at the autopsy photographs. Let's look at slide 1, please, Alex. Now, there we are. Now, firstly, what you call the ligature mark is very thin, which suggests a cord or a wire was used. Yeah, Ian's making the garroting move. Yeah. And secondly, there's what's known as an adjustment mark. Notice how the mark separates from that the lower one and then to the upper one, that ligature was slightly altered as while it was being used. Now, this suggests that the cord was tightened and then retightened in a slightly better position to strangle him. And this is the I did have a picture of the supposed noose and I forgot to put it in. But what it shows is it's too thick to have created this narrow pattern that we can see on what's supposed to be Epstein's body. Now, secondly, is the position of the mark. Let's look at slide 2. Now, in a normal hanging, the noose or whatever you use to perform the hanging with slips as the body's weight comes to bear on it, and the lower portion ends up almost beneath the chin, and the upper part of the noose slips behind the ears, and so it's a kind of the weight of the body drags it into that kind of angle. Now, if you look at the lower mark where that's indicated, and if you look at Epstein's mark, it's straight across. It's straight across his throat, which normally would indicate he was strangled from behind or in a prone face down position, according to...
And by a professional.
Somebody who knew what they were doing, yeah. I think you're correct there. So that's the ligature mark, what you might call the ligature mark anomaly. Then, of course, there's the tattoo on his left arm. Slide 3, please, Alex. Now, we've got photos showing that he had a barbed wire tattoo, and they're out there on the internet. But the post-mortem report contains no mention of it. And
probably shouldn't say this, Glenn.
Yeah.
But people can easily look it up. So I'll just say, if I was going to kill you, I'd probably use a box cutter just underneath your groin to take out your carotid artery, because I get that fucker, you're bleeding out in 60 seconds, and there is no paramedic in the world that can stop it.
No, femoral artery did very pumps blood out very quickly. All right.
To try and make it suicidal, they always go for hanging, because you can use a garrote and try and disguise it. Sorry.
You want to cover it up, yeah.
Just throwing in information.
No, I think that's a valid point. It's more easily disguisable. So there's the fact that the autopsy report doesn't actually record that he had this barbed wire tattoo on his body. And if autopsy reports contain every detail about the body, but it's missing. So that's just a throw it out there anomaly. And then, of course, there's this man. Slide 4, please, Alex. Now, this is Dr. Michael Baden, who has publicly said that he believes Epstein died by strangulation. Now, Baden was present at Epstein's post-mortem and said both he and the medical examiner conducting the post-mortem agreed that further investigation of the cause of death was required. Now, despite the fact that the medical examiner's report stated that, and it stated that he was not satisfied with the suicide explanation, and despite the Department of Justice's explanation of suicide, the post-mortem report of Epstein's death actually contains the manner of death section as it's written into that section, pending. So it wasn't a conclusive autopsy. And both boxes for suicide and homicide were left blank. They were not it was not ruled out, in other words. Now, 5 days after the post-mortem, New York's former coroner, former chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Simpson, overruled the post-mortem findings and ruled that the cause of death was suicide. And more questions were raised when the statement issued by the Department of Justice after Epstein's death was found to be dated the 9th of August 2019, which was 1 day before he died. So they put out a statement that Epstein had died a day before he died. And the DOJ has explained this as an unfortunate typo of the entire date. Now, Dr. Baden has gone further, stating that the post-mortem showed 3 distinct fractures on Epstein's neck, something he said he has never seen in his 50-year career in a case of hanging, nor contained in any reports of suicides in New York jails over the same period. Now, Dr. Baden has consistently stated that Epstein's post-mortem was consistent with homicide rather than suicide. End on slide 5. And somebody addressed that in the comments. That is, of course, if you believe that the body that was examined was actually Epstein at all. Okay. So that was a little look at Epstein's death. Okay. And unless anyone wants to make any more comments, I'll move straight on to the last piece.
On you go, Glenn, and I'll tie it in at the end.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, this was kind of inspired by something Richard said. Richard sent me a thing about King Charles III, and he says he said, well, have a look at this story. So I just had a quick look at it, and this is my final piece. And I'd like to talk about King Charles, our so-called monarch, and the interesting fact. And Alex was actually looking into, sort of genealogy. Well, it's an interesting fact that he is actually part of the bloodline of Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes, as he was actually called. Charles is actually
Correct.
He's Vlad's grandson 16 times removed, and we can kind of see this at slide 1. So there's Charles's sort of family bloodline, and there he is connected through all these people back to Vlad Tepes, back to Vlad the Impaler. Now, Vlad's bloodlust and cruelty earned him the title of Vlad the Impaler. He would basically burn the old and sick alive. And in 1462, following a battle with the Turkish army, slide 2, please, Alex, he impaled over 23,000 people, and is said to have eaten a meal while listening to their dying moans. Okay. Now, Vlad was the second son of Vlad Dracul, a member of the what you might call chivalric order, of the Order of the Dragon, which was actually Dracul. Yes, he was Dracul's son, his second son, actually. And that order was founded to defend Christianity from the Ottoman Empire. And he ruled a very small kingdom, did our Vlad, called Wallachia, which is now in Romania. And, that was a throne he won and lost 3 times during his lifetime. Now, this man's epitaph gives him the name Dracula, which is, originally meant son of Dracul the dragon. And of course, his legendary cruelty and bloodlust were the inspiration for Bram Stoker's creation of Dracula, the vampire, along with stories that he got from the Romanian region that talk about vampires, which Stoker turned into this man. He turned all that into slide 3, please, Alex. He turned him into the Count Dracula figure. So interestingly, Charles actually owns a number of properties in Romania, and he has quipped in the past that he has a bit of a stake in the country. All right. So it's hardly surprising that Vladimir Putin calls our leaders vampires. And we'll just end on slide 4. And here he is with this mysterious red eye that so many of our leaders, including the man on his right, the Macron, seem to get, this mysterious red eye that they get. So, and also if you look at his lips, I don't know if he's been drinking red wine or what. They're quite, quite pink. So I don't know what he'd been up to. So maybe the connection with Vlad the Impaler, with Dracula, isn't quite as far out or outlandish as you might think. Okay. Yeah, blood drinkers. Okay, so I'll leave that there, and I'll just let Ian pick the bones out of that.
How can I, Glenn? I mean, you've thrown me such diverse fucking bones from mushroom seeing little people to an obscure familiar relation to the current fucking Habsburg wearing the golden fucking crown. Maybe I'll start with me. It's the Lone Gunman show, people. Partly truth and partly fiction. You pick the bones yourself, Glenn. My family dates back to the early Dark Ages medieval period in Holland, actually. And in approximately the 10th century, a Dutch royal princess was married to a small kingdom in the south of England to secure, as they did back then, an alliance. That woman then went on to bear children who were the dukes of one of the highest houses in England, until, of course, the English Civil War, in which they fought on the wrong side, meaning their land, their properties, their titles were all defunct when Cromwell came to power. So remnants of the family fled north to the protection of the Earl of Murray, who had survived Cromwell's purge. And when come fill up my cup, come fill up my can, come saddle my horses and call out my men. When the bonny Dundee rode forth at his stirrup was an ancestor of mine. And we met both the devil and Dundee on the hills at Killiecrankie. By 1715, it was still my ancestor who was trying to advise James I. By the 45, it was my ancestor who was the only dissenting voice. When we had conquered everything from Preston Pans to Falkirk to Derby, who said, now we need to press on and take London, when everyone else was worrying about the mighty British Army that lay in front and how we had to go back north. That ancestor was promised a title. And that title being, if the Jacobites had won, the Earl of Murray. That same Earl of Murrayship, encaptured in an ancient poem, way be to thee, Huntley, wherefore did I say, I bade you get the Earl of Murray, but forbade you him to slay. Now will the lady forever look down Castle Doon, ere she sees the Earl of Murray come riding through the town. When I have thrown my name out so reluctantly as Clan Chieftain or Knight Protector, I know you hate kings, Ben, so do I. But I've thrown my name out because I really do have that lineage against Saxe Coburg. If only they would rally to me. Never gonna happen. That's okay. World War III is about to break out. So, is Epstein alive? Hell yes. Did Ghislaine Maxwell appear before Senate too? No, a very poor devil did. She's in Israel too. Very fucking simple. Vlad the Impaler, Glenn, I'm so impressed, brother. Because Putin says nothing by accident, and when he calls them vampires, they fucking are, my brother.
Yeah.
And I put up on the screen for all to see, drinking human blood is, it's not a cure for hemophilia, but it at least strengthens the immune system. That's why they're always so pasty-faced. Unless you're a fucking giant Oompa Loompa that fucking slaps on mega amugas of fake tan. Oh, and they're all blood related. And of course, the lore about aliens is they're not aliens, they're us from the future, come from another dimension. Oh, and they're soon going to tell us they're coming up from the ocean, by the way. That's going to be the big reveal. They've been here, they've got bases in the ocean. Mermen. Mermen are mentioned in the Epstein files. In the Epstein files, you'll find Bruce Lane and Jeffy asking Fidel whether they can fucking dive off the coast of Cuba. Why Bimini Road? Why giant fucking pyramids just off the coast of Cuba? If this was a chess match, I'd say, Gary Kasparov, come and try. Come on. So, the Royals, as you pointed out, Glenn, for fucking generations have been bloodsuckers who fired that adrenochrome, making Pizzagate, making fucking grape juice real. My fucking God, how far do I need to go?
Absolutely.
And isn't it coinky fucking vinky that your man Clark is a relative of Arthur C. Uh-huh. I keep telling you people, you take anyone who is anyone, you scratch them, you're going to find a fucking Nazi. You're going to find an insider. And you're going to be presented with shit, which is eyes wide shut. Eyes wide shut. There's a meme going about. Why isn't the world protesting the pedophiles in the Epstein file? And the answer is because the people named in the Epstein files are the ones who fucking fund the protests. Let that sink in for a motherfucking second. Oh. Oh yeah. All you MAGAs, all you England firsters, all you ADFers, all you whatever, the people who have been paying protesters to bus in, who have been providing the flags to wave, the placards to hold, the whole fucking 9 yards are the very fucking people, the Epstein class. You ain't getting any money to protest this shit. You can't vote your way out of this shit. Sorry. He's the optimist. She's the realist. I'm the fucking pessimist. Come misanthrope. We are fucked. 6 ways from Sunday and there ain't shit. We can't raise no vibration to stop it. We can't protest our way out of it. We can't civil war because they ain't got the motherfucking numbers. We can't declaration of our growth out of it legally because no can we believe me, we can't do jack fucking shit. Told you. From COVID, they were going to grind you down. mentally, economically, every which fucking spiritually, every which way from fucking Sunday they could. Until on your bended fucking knee you would say, okay, yes, please. You close to it now, motherfuckers? You want a savior? I ain't him. Maybe, just maybe, I'm the fucking Baptist. Saying prepare the way. Because I'm telling you now, we can't stop this shit. This next week is going to be very exciting. Sorry. Glenn. You're not a man whose mind is easily blown. And I somewhat suspect this week, given the freedom of your dossier, you actually tried and attempted to make things so diverse that there was no possible way I could start pulling red strings together. How do you feel now, brother?
Do you know, Ian, sometimes you have to stir the pot. Sometimes you have to, you have to push the boat out a little bit. Just to it's a thought experiment. It's an exploration of possibilities, and God knows I would be the last person to say I believe half of this stuff. I look into it. I look into this stuff as possibilities, as we all do, and we try and make connections.
Glenn, problem is, the more we go on, the more I actually do believe most of the shit.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot in it. There is a bigger picture, and it does mean something. And what this program and what the whole of the Jacobites is about, as well as trying to open people's eyes and stir a spirit of resistance. And resistance comes from realization of just how fucked these people are, just how fucked this world is, and just how long this shit has been going on. And I think it's one of our biggest jobs. That is one of the biggest things we're here to do, is to open those doors and kick those doors down and say, what the fuck is on the other side? And not look away and pretend that it's just, something simpler than it is. I just believe in bigger things. And I believe 90% of these fuckers out there are just pawns in this game. They're just pawns being moved around by by people much, much higher up. And that's one of the things that I know you do and I do and we all do, is to try to get to the bottom of this pyramid, maybe, or the top of this pyramid, this organization. So yeah, so I was spitballing around ideas, things that have come across my desk, as it were, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not, maybe it's all bullshit. I don't know, but there seems to be a pattern. That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
but I think I did surprise you a little bit, didn't I, brother?
What, just now?
With the connections I made with your little people.
I always knew you were going to do that. I always knew, because I know that I know you. I know that I can feed you, and Alex can feed you a ton of random facts, and you will find a way to put it all together. And that's just a question of having a mind that can see connections. And it's the kind of mind, that we need. We need people to be able to think like this, to be able to say, well, that seems randomly, completely disconnected from that. What could possibly be the actual connection? And it's usually money, Nazis, or fucking Satanism. That's the usual connections.
Now, I know you would be here in a heartbeat if you're closer, Glenn.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm going to throw it out there, though. At 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, I need to load a van as quickly as possible so that we can get on the road. Many hands make light work. And I don't know actually who watches this show within the radius of where I stay. But you probably do. So if you can be there between 9 and 9:30 tomorrow morning at my locale, which Alex, if you message her, will give you. Helping hands are always good. Someone said earlier, oh, the chieftain's leaving. Where's he going? I don't fucking know. I'm just putting my tools and my garden north into storage, and I really don't know where the fuck we're going to live. You know what? Instead of it being a stressful thing, and it is a stressful thing, you live someplace for decades, or a decade, whatever, long enough to accumulate things, long enough to make Granny shed. And then suddenly, all has to go. How do I cope? Whilst trying still to think about World War III, what AI is doing, and oh my God, I'll give you an example. This is the first time I've ever interacted with Grok. There is a next account called RFM. They're obviously Jewish and a bot, probably. Might be a Jewish person, but that's alright, whatever. But that's where they're coming from, got me? And they posted about smoke arising from Pavazin, an Iranian city with a nuclear site. They were obviously trying to get the idea that Iran is so fractured that there are internal partisans blowing shit up at nuclear sites. And I like the reports of the Iranians have published the exact names of the 3,100 and whatever people who died in the recent troubles. And they've also dissected them into police, emergency responders, innocent and suspected terrorists. It's not 50, 60, 90,000 Iranians. No, that's what Israel does. It's not as it's all over from the Tory graph onwards, the man from the fucking Daily fucking Mail, the fucking beheaded babies, the mass rape on 7 fucking whatever it was. Who gives a shit at the moment? Because it's all false. Iran is not the one raping prisoners. That's Israel.
Yeah.
Iran has not cut out the fucking wombs and uteruses of women to hide those rapes. That's Israel. Iran doesn't have the biggest bank of human skin in the world. No, that's Israel. Iran doesn't have the biggest bank of human organs for sale in the world. That's Israel. Iran doesn't have the largest amount of children up for auction to be sexually trafficked to pedophiles. That isn't Israel. That's Ukraine. Buy it, Israel. I'm just saying. And if the shit actually goes down round about Tuesday, seems to be where things are coalescing. State of the Union, Gerald Ford being dropped in Israel, et al. Well, Israel's missiles, nuclear missiles, and I'm going to finish with this and get Alex and Glenn's perspective. Most of you have heard of the Samson auction, but very few of you have actually taken on board what the Samson auction is. Maybe because of your Sunday school days. You think, well, Samson was a judge of Israel. And Israel was allowed to live and flourish. Because when Samson threw down the pillars, when I was a minister, I always start my sermons with a joke. I'll finish it with a joke this time. The Glasgow School Board in the 70s inspected a school. And the teacher said, "Who threw down the pillars to collapse the temple?" 59 little hands went in the air and one hand didn't. And they said, "Who'd you say did it?" And the kiddie said, "Maybe the Jews." There was a full-blown court fucking entourage. The kid was dangling in the balance of going into care. Until nobody from the Glasgow City Council Oversight Committee came and said to the headmaster, "Don't worry, we'll send in the council workers and it'll all be fixed by Monday." The pillars, those being. They will bamboozle you 6 ways from Sunday. But my friends, very soon, despite all their lies, all their backhanders, all their media control, all their alternative media control, it's falling down around them. There's a celestial event coming. I told these two, they weren't ready for my take on the book of Revelation. But my God, I think I need to soon. Might be my last broadcast ever. Who knows? But within this week, I do think we're going to enter into World War III. But I'm just a crazy old drug and alcohol addled fool who once was picked to be someone and decided I'd rather be no one. Glenn,
Yeah, I can't imagine a country, any other country, the worst country in the world to have nuclear weapons is Israel. The only other fuckers would be Ukraine because they would use them. They would have already used them, and they're striving to get their hands on them, and they're being helped. But see how well that ends. Yeah, Revelation special. Well, if anybody knows about Revelations, it's Ian. He is an expert. I will put it no other way. He is an expert on Revelation. And he proves that to me time and time again. But it's a big thing. There's a lot in there. There's a lot to unpack. And it has to be done properly. You can't deal with something like that half-assed. And so the only person I would trust to do that would be Ian. Because it was a speciality that he concentrated on. So in terms of the fact that Israel has unregulated, uninspected, undocumented nuclear weapons, that it's acquired through stealth and theft and bribe and everything else that it specializes in over the years, means that they are the most dangerous country certainly in the Middle East. They're far more dangerous than anyone else. Iran compared to Israel is a playful kitten. Israel is a roaring, rabid dog who will do everything in its power to take as much of that region as it can. And if it cannot, it will fucking well drag it to hell with it. Because that is what the sanction option means. It will nuke everyone. They don't give a shit. Because if they can't win, they're taking the ball home. That is their attitude. They have to win. And people who believe that this relationship that they've got with America is some kind of mutual, I don't know, appreciation society. It ain't. It's based on everything that's in the Epstein files. It's based on the kind of underhanded filth that Mossad get up to. It's just, that's the relationship. America runs after Israel like it's a puppy chasing its mum. So yeah, so they are in my honest opinion, they are dangerous and they need to be stopped. And they won't stop until someone does stop them. So that's probably my last thoughts.
Thanks, Glenn. You're I love you, brother. I do.
I feel the same, my friend. I absolutely
Yeah,
do.
no, I know this is not just a little love fest. It's not just because we both served in the RAF. It's
No.
not because I know you can pick apart some of the lone gunman, partly fact and partly fiction, because we partly been at some of the partly same places. That's because you can bring uh, patience and ability. No, I think some people in the comments are saying, "Yeah, Ian, you're an expert." Here's what an expert is, and here's what Glenn does. Okay, people? Because I'm not sure I am. An expert is somebody who can explain something in bites that even a toddler could understand. And the man in black is exactly that. When Glenn lays out his evidence, it's indisputable. It's there. He's giving you the receipts, Alex. Like you said, the Russian do. That's what Glenn does. He gives you the fucking receipts. Alex has a mathematical mind like I've never known. That can take stats and pull them apart and find information from various records I didn't even know existed. And again, Alex, when you present information, you can take every fact checker on the fucking planet and they can't dispute your findings. I love that. Me, well, I'm just someone throwing down into the internet before it's all AI. No one can believe anything. For the archaeologists of the future, a Samuel Pepys diary of not the Great Fire of London or the Great Plague of London, but the final fall of mankind that starts with war against Iran. Yeah, people were getting that close. Why else do you think I've started popping on my own personal feed little hints and tricks that I learned as a kiddie? Gen Z is gone. They're just gone. 1/3 of them are already dead, and another third are heading towards it in maid programs. Gen Xers are absolutely fucking exhausted. Millennials don't know which way to swing, literally. And boomers, well, they're dying like there's no tomorrow, because there ain't. So, Alex, anything you want to say and promote tonight? Because I've lifted the mood. I mean, people are just loving fucking life before going on holiday. Wait, I'm going to Ibiza. Gran Canaria, actually, but go on.
We've gone so many directions today in so many places. It's the bits that I had in my head to say I don't think I'll even bother with, but it all connects, it all links, it all just is there. The Epstein class revealed information about the Epstein class. There was nobody else revealing it, and the Epstein class will judge the Epstein class. Maybe I am a realist, maybe I'm a pessimist, I don't know. I'm certainly not an optimist, but it's not going to solve itself, and it never will. And too many people won't do anything because too many people are too scared to ever do anything. So we are fucked. And it is just the narration of the end of time in many ways. But it's not ramblings, it's not anything other than pure analysis, if you like, or anything else. And you might claim that Glenn's the professor, you might claim whatever else, but that's because you are who you are, and that is to put everybody else up. You put yourself down. We're here because we see more than that. We see the truth. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, shit.
Oh, well. Told you. I'm a fucking pirate. If you think I can find me a berth at short notice, don't worry. This last Jacobite might be moving nearer home, but he's not stopping anything he once started. Capiscio?
I know. Marilyn put, what the hell is this channel? What the hell
You
is
don't
this?
know by now, stick around and you soon will.
Yes, you'll find it. Watch next week.
Or go back and watch some of the other shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Can't be bought, can't be bullied, won't be bribed. That's what this channel is, Marilyn. Which is why we can tell you to fuck it off. And I very often do.
Yeah. Undiluted freedom.
Oh, people. Serious ending to the show. We are in, Glenn, I joked about it last week, but it's the truth. We're in Stingway territory. We're in fucking Marinaville. We're in Aquamarina. Anything can happen in the next 3 fucking seconds.
Yeah.
Trump may or may not go to war with Iran before Tuesday, but Trump is going to go to war with Iran. And at that point, politics in the Disunited Kingdom, politics in the Disunited States of America, I'm not sure they even fucking politics and what they're trying in lockstep, digital ID, fucking hidden by under 16 verification. digital banking, because the whole thing's gone to fucking pot. I think I might do a cover of that because it might be more apropos for the start of the show. It's all gone to pot, whether we like it or not. I'm kicking off my shoes and the man in the news. It's all gone to fucking. We're done. We're cooked. The whole purpose of the last Jacobite was never to stop them. It was to meet them and fight them and beat them the other end. Capiscio? Glenn, last thoughts for the audience, and then you, Alex, and then we'll. Oh my God, I'm dead.
Whoopee, we're all gonna die. What was that song?
Oh, but mine might be more imminent.
Yeah, right. What? As in, yeah, right. Your device is dying.
The boss may just decide to kill me.
Right. Cut off important parts here and string them around your neck. Yeah.
She'd probably live stream it.
People would pay. People would pay. We have a lot of fun on this show. We have a lot of fun, and we also deal with a lot of serious stuff. I mean, what Ian tells you is the most serious of is the most serious things. You know, things that threaten our very existence on this planet. You know, and we get quite lighthearted because in a lot of ways it's the only way you can deal with this shit. You know, you've got to stay in a you know, in that kind of space. You've got to be I don't know, that doesn't mean you can't know. You have. It's important that people know about this stuff. And what Ian tells you, what Alex tells you, and what I sometimes try and tell you is, you know, the truth as we see it and find it. And you can do with what the fuck you like. So I suppose, you know, Ian's right when he says all he's doing is documenting this decline, this end, this this final countdown. I don't know, but yeah. But I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm not going to get upset about it. And if I'm incinerated tomorrow, then I've had a good life, and I've known love, and I've known everything, and I'm quite happy about that. You know, so I suppose that those are my last thoughts. Really, those really are, and if they are my last thoughts ever, then that's what I'd like them to be. That at least I try to stay happy, try to stay happy, and try to enjoy life. Okay.
I'm sorry, Glenn. You're absolutely spot on. I'm not going to find it because Google's a fucking bitch and I won't play with AI. Series 2 of Supernatural. The Roadhouse. There's Ellen and her daughter, I can't remember. But there's a super genius who was thrown out of MIT, but he had the computer program and he was saying, give me your shit, 51 hours, yeah, I'll be able to track demons.
Yeah.
Yeah. The remake of the 18th. Liam Neeson tells the CIA guy, give me an hour, I'll give you a plan. Give me 10 hours. I'm fucking unstoppable. NWA meet Hannibal fucking Lecter. Alex, your last thoughts. And do big up tonight's show. I'm going to be killed anyway, it doesn't matter.
If we've got time to put one together.
Somebody sent me a video in the week, and I forget who, so I'm not going to acknowledge them because I can't remember who sends me what nowadays. I get so much stuff sent through. And it was a Gen X thing, and it said, Gen X doesn't want to rule the world. We just want to be left alone. We've done our bit. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be another generation that is going to do anything. So they're going to have to put up with us. But remember that we are pissed off and we have had enough when it comes to it. So, and that has nothing to do with nothing whatsoever. It just jumped into my head.
No, I think that does. Tune in tonight, people.
Yeah.
Alex and Glenn will have a blazing conversation. I know, because I know them. Me, I refer you to Marvel Comics. Most specifically, to the last Avengers Assemble film with the Hulk. The genius who hit himself with so much gamma rays that when he becomes enraged, he turns into a big green monster. I haven't even talked about or touched on Jew weapons that might be used against Iran, rods of God that might be used against Iran. Et al. I'm back. Dr. Banner in the last Marvel's Assemble movie told the pretty girl, here's my secret. People think I go this way when I'm angry. No. I'm always motherfucking angry. And with that, wherever you are from around the world, and I do love that shit, give me one big motherfucking solid. Because I have a lot of shit to do now. Go fuck you. Alex, end this broadcast, please. And
we are the last Jacobites, proud and free, will not be bought nor bend the knee. Like our bros cry and freedom's flame, we rise as one and stake our claim. Oh, side by side, through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call, Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. It matters not our skin or land, but hearts as one, and hand in hand. The blood we share is brave and bold, in woven dreams and legends old. Oh, side by side, through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. From every shore we answer the call, Clan Jacobite, we rise or fall. I am you, and you are me, a thread within this tapestry. For hopes of all, for every name, we light the fire, we keep the flame. No sea can part us, nor the land. Together strong, we proudly stand. With courage, truth, and spirits high, we pledge our oath beneath the sky. Oh, side by side, through storm and fight, we stand as one in truth and right. Raise the